Hey, today we're going to talk about the new Deathstranding 2 trailer. What I think the trailers themselves are going to be posted so you can watch them. I want to splice the trailers together in a format or timeline that I think is more accurate than what we're being shown. And then I want to put my tinfoil hat on and talk to you about what we're seeing. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. If not, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Let that yawn out. There's no pretending. I will hold you and protect you. So let love warm you till the morning. I'll stay with you by your side. Close your tired eyes and I'll wait. And soon I'll see your smile in a dream. Baby, don't worry. It's okay. I'll always be with you. And don't worry. It's okay.
No one should have to suffer such loss. You know, I meant it when I said I understand how you feel. But if you hold on to the sadness, it'll weigh you down like an anchor.
My crew, Sam. It's time for you to hit the road and start a new journey.
It wasn't the UCA that made the final decision. It was APAC, a private corporation.
So let love warm you till the morning.
Well?
PlayStation.
Welcome to Drawbridge, Sam. And to the GHV Magellan, our mobile base of operations. Come on, I'll help you get your bearings. This is the ship's armory. Here you can check your weapons and put them through their paces. These rooms over here belong to other members of the crew. They're pretty much the same as yours. And the shower's down at the end.
This is one hell of a ship you got here. Courtesy of the UCA, I'm guessing.
No. As I told you, Drawbridge is a civilian outfit. But we do have a generous patron with access to plenty of capital and tech.
Sounds like a UCA big shot.
Don't ask me. We've never met face to face. They value their privacy.
Seriously? No better than to believe that bullshit.
It's the same deal as America. The people here are all spread out, cut off from one another. We want you to help us bring the world together.
Sam, would you mind if I joined you?
Humor him. His knowledge and experience will probably come in handy down the road.
Yes. Really, Sam? Your buttocks? What about shotgun? I prefer the driver's seat.
Sam, do you read me? You'll first need to access the Mexico side plate gate terminal. After we've confirmed network coverage, we can take the DHV Magellan and regroup at your position.
The problem is, not everybody wants to be part of the UCA.
That's not the plan, Sam. The UCA isn't looking to expand its borders. Just like with Mexico, they want to bring new regions into the network. Anyway, the DHV Magellan's here to back you up. As always, you'll be the one leading the way to expand the network.
What's your role in all this? You're the commander, huh?
That's right. These days I'm fragile in name only. You brought America together, helped it be reborn as the UCA. But I'm afraid Deathstranding is far from over. Humanity is still in danger, still on the brink of extinction. Don't act like you don't see it. A lot of things changed after you went off on your own, especially within the UCA. Bridges no longer oversees the distribution network. They withdrew once things were up and running. So your friends and co-workers all went their separate ways. Within network coverage, there's no need to rely on human porters anymore. So after I closed up shop, I went and started a new group. One that handles work in regions outside the UCA. We decided to call ourselves Drawbridge.
With the support of the chiral network and AMBYES, humanity will be free from the need to move around. Bots are capable of handling deliveries.
He's alive.
He called himself a ghost, but
We found a way back from the beach just so he could kill us.
he said he came back to get revenge on you and me.
Hey, brother. Did you miss me? Yeah, I figured you'd pay this place a visit, seeing as how I've been distributing the fruits of this fine factory all over the continent. With guns and violence, the whole damn world could be yours. Same as it ever was. Oh. Looks like you decided to trade in that rope for a stick this go-round. Well, I suppose even a porter has to pull the trigger from time to time. Oh, what about you? Hey, buddy. Are you just another soulless little husk, huh?
Let go of me! Pathetic guitarist. Where's the rest of your band?
Well, ain't that something?
Was it you, Higgs? Huh? Was it you that killed Lou?
You still don't know, do you?
Something he said. You don't know a goddamn thing about Lou.
All right, Sam. Let's see what we can find on Lou.
If you want answers, you're gonna have to find them yourself. But the ones you do find, well, that pain you nurse will only get worse. Sam the man in the dark about everything.
Don't forget, coming on this expedition was meant to help you find the strength to carry on. And you have. We all know you've got this. Now it's time to finish the journey, Sam. Please understand, Sam. We never meant to string you along.
That chrysalis, we found her inside. It was filled with a fluid that contained amino acids. One's identical in structure to the kind found in tar.
I'm sorry, there are amino acids in tar? As in proteins?
Of course. How else did you think that chiral creatures could emerge from it? Some have even theorized that the tar is a sort of primordial soup.
I was there. I saw her home. And it was a hellhole.
You see, after you left Bridges, I decided to do a little digging. Now, according to them, BB-28 was flagged for disposal and subsequently incinerated 4 years ago, long before you and Lou first met.
PlayStation.
Let that yawn out. There's no pretending. I will hold you and protect you. So let love warm you till the morning. I'll stay with you by your side. Close your tired eyes and I'll wait. And soon I'll see your smile in a dream. Baby, don't worry. It's okay.
Sam the man in the dark about everything.
Don't forget, coming on this expedition was meant to help you find the strength to carry on. And you have. We all know you've got this. Now it's time to finish the journey, Sam.
You see, after you left Bridges, I decided to do a little digging. Now, according to them, BB-28 was flagged for disposal and subsequently incinerated 4 years ago, long before you and Lou first met.
Sam the man in the dark about everything.
It's time for you to hit the road and start a new journey. Come meet my crew, Sam. Welcome to Drawbridge, Sam, and to the DHV Magellan, our mobile base of operations. Come on, I'll help you get your bearings. This is the ship's armory. Here you can check your weapons and put them through their paces. These rooms over here belong to other members of the crew. They're pretty much the same as yours. And the shower's down at the end.
This is one hell of a ship you got here. Courtesy of the UCA, I'm guessing.
No. As I told you, Drawbridge is a civilian outfit. But we do have a generous patron with access to plenty of capital and tech.
Sounds like a UCA big shot.
Don't ask me. We've never met face to face. They value their privacy.
Seriously? No better than to believe that bullshit. Something he said. You don't know a goddamn thing about Lou.
All right, Sam. Let's see what we can find on Lou.
If you want answers, you're gonna have to find them yourself. But the ones you do find, well, that pain you nurse will only get worse. Sam the man in the dark.
Same deal as America. The people here are all spread out, cut off from one another. We want you to help us bring the world together.
Sam, would you mind if I joined you?
Humor him. His knowledge and experience will probably come in handy down the road.
Yes. Really, Sam? Your buttocks? What about shotgun? I prefer the driver's seat.
Sam, do you read me? You'll first need to access the Mexico side plate gate terminal. After we've confirmed network coverage, we can take the DHV Magellan and regroup at your position.
The problem is, not everybody wants to be part of the UCA.
That's not the plan, Sam. The UCA isn't looking to expand its borders. Just like with Mexico, they want to bring new regions into the network. Anyway, the DHV Magellan's here to back you up. As always, you'll be the one leading the way to expand the network.
What's your role in all this? You're the commander, huh?
That's right. These days I'm fragile in name only. You brought America together, helped it be reborn as the UCA. But I'm afraid that Deathstranding is far from over. Humanity is still in danger, still on the brink of extinction. Don't act like you don't see it. A lot of things changed after you went off on your own, especially within the UCA. Bridges no longer oversees the distribution network. They withdrew once things were up and running. So your friends and co-workers all went their separate ways. Within network coverage, there's no need to rely on human quarters anymore. So after I closed up shop, I went and started a new group. One that handles work in regions outside the UCA. We decided to call ourselves Drawbridge.
I meant it when I said I understand how you feel. But if you hold on to the sadness, it'll weigh you down like an anchor.
That chrysalis, we found her inside. It was filled with a fluid that contained amino acids. One's identical in structure to the kind found in tar.
I'm sorry, there are amino acids in tar? As in proteins?
Of course. How else did you think that chiral creatures could emerge from it? Some have even theorized that the tar is a sort of primordial soup.
I was there. I saw her home. And it was a hellhole.
With the support of the chiral network and APAS, humanity will be free from the need to move around.
So let love warm you till the morning.
Hey, brother. Did you miss me? Yeah, I figured you'd pay this place a visit, seeing as how I've been distributing the fruits of this fine factory all over the continent. With guns and violence, the whole damn world could be yours. Same as it ever was. Oh. Looks like you decided to trade in that rope for a stick this go-round. Well, I suppose even a porter has to pull the trigger from time to time. Oh, what about you? Hey, buddy. Are you just another soulless little husk, huh?
Let go of me!
Oh.
Pathetic guitarist, where's the rest of your band?
Well, ain't that something?
Was it you, Higgs? Huh? Was it you that killed Lou?
You still don't know, do you?
Don't forget, coming on this expedition was meant to help you find the strength to carry on. And you have. We all know you've got this. Now it's time to finish the journey, Sam. Please understand, Sam.
Alright, now that we've seen the regular trailer, what I think is happening in the trailer, and now the posters, one of which is obviously in a higher quality than the rest, but I just kind of took these off of Kojima's Twitter. I really like it. I have a few things I want to talk about in them before we move on, that I think are interesting. For example, Drawbridge is Fragile's company, or rather, that's who she works for, but she runs this other company. She's like, I'm the captain. And when you look at their hats, I find it weird that she is the captain of the ship and that the hat insignia really is similar to what she had on her Fragile Handle with Care. It looks like two hands. They're cradling what kind of looks like, from a distance, a skull, although I think it's definitely more of a compass. We'll have to zoom into that later. But it's funny that she is wearing the drawbridge insignia and not the insignia of, I feel like, the company that she's made her name with. So that makes me think that even though she says, "This is my ship, I've made a new business," I feel like she's just entered a contract rather than it being her own. But then again, you have the hands on the hat that are really reminiscent of her old design. So I find that really interesting. The other thing is that this insignia has like a staff with what appears to be a snake or an octopus wrapped around it. It reminds me of the Greek myth about the god of medicine who learned that gift from the centaur Chiron, which sounds a lot like Chiron, who is half man, half beast. And that kind of reminds me of BB in a way, especially if we have these octopus kind of like symbols, and obviously that's what we see in the trailer, which we'll talk about later. And that woman comes back to life. So I do think that's an interesting thing to think about. On the flip side of that, I also have an image where Fragile's old logo is flipped upside down. Like a lot of the things we see, we're going backwards or reverse in this clip or trailer, and it fits really well. So that makes me wonder, is Fragile going to be the opposite of herself in this? Is this some sort of, you know, I don't know, red herring? Tell me what you think. The other thing I find interesting is he's missing his hand, obviously, but I would like to know if there's anything where that cat is his hand. I know that's a weird thought, but I almost get mad scientist kind of vibes from this guy. Like, he strikes me as someone who would take a chance, and I don't know, I just think that cat is going to have something to do with his injury. I also think the hands on Fragile's neck are more than just something fun. I really think that they're going to have something to do with her injury. So we see her get injured in the very first trailer we ever got, the teaser. And I think it would be interesting if this is like a disability rep where this is like attached to her spine and that's the reason it knows what she wants. Otherwise, I think these hands are going to be like someone's soul, which is such a weird concept. But, we've seen, like, are you a husk? That's been asked towards, like, the puppet, and it seems to be a big thing that we're gonna have puppets. So if it's not, a Spinal Tap type thing situation, cyborg, then I think these hands are gonna be, like, possessed by something, which is a strange concept. The next two characters are good and our bad, our villain and our protagonist. However, I am not sure that Higgs is actually a villain. Not a Higgs apologist. Didn't really like him in the first game. Kind of thought he was frustrating and kind of lame because I didn't really get his backstory. It just kind of felt like he was just a villain to be a villain. But then at the end, when we start seeing that he has some sort of connection with Amelie that we don't really understand, it made me so curious about like what is up with his character. Then we got a little bit of Fragile backstory with him, which I guess this is a good time to say spoilers for the first game. So if you don't want to hear anything about the first game, you definitely shouldn't watch this video because I'm gonna reference back quite a bit. But now that we said that, I want to continue with, in the first game we learned that Higgs is associated with Fragile's mother. We learned that Fragile's mother is the reason that Sam was dead in the first place because she blew up the factory when she discovered what they were doing. And we kind of learned that, these mother figures have really put all of this into motion. Amelie is the reason that we have, the whole Ha and Ka situation and her needing Sam to connect the world, and it just all goes back to these moms, which I think is a really interesting concept. Since we're doing the inverse in this trailer, I think it would be an interesting concept if we flipped and focused more on the paternal side in this game, because people joke about the whole like impreg and like men having babies in the first game, but that really was a big thing. It was all about the maternal like instinct, and it was very much about mothering. And I feel like we got a lot of womb a lot, oh, that's a hard word to say, a lot of womb imagery. And I'm thinking we're gonna get a different set of imagery this time. We already have a lot of like tentacles and kind of like phallic imagery, which I know is like a weird thing to say, but I think we are gonna be in the more paternal realm, just like with the Alien franchise. They were very serious about their design elements, and they went for a very, female ship, masculine alien, so, and vice versa. And I think we're gonna see something like that in this, as strange as that sounds. Again, it's a Kojima, so I do think that's gonna be relevant, because we are seeing kind of the inverse of all of these things. So I do think these guys are gonna be important, and I think they're gonna represent fathers in a way, because neither of them had a father in the first one, or they didn't think that they did. Now, we learn later on that Sam obviously had a dad, and a dad that was very serious about trying to help him, but he dies in the process. Versus Higgs, where we find out his father died, I believe. He gets left to his mother's uncle. He's a jerk, he's abusive, and Higgs ends up killing him. So we have some patricide there. It'll be interesting to see if any of that comes back into play for this. We know Fragile was also without a father. Like I said, it was very female heavy in the first one. And so I do wonder, will we see any paternal sides, or will it all still stay on the maternal? So I don't want to go too far without, talking about the makeup. I don't think it's a Joker makeup. I definitely think it is supposed to be reminiscent of a puppet, or like a ventriloquist puppet. So I think he's supposed to be the mouthpiece for someone. Again, in the first game, he was very obviously supposed to be the villain. He had a god complex. His name had, references to the god particle. And we were made to believe that Amelie used him, or rather he used her. There was something going on there. That I'm still not super sure about, because there's a lot of contradictory evidence about who was really in control. But I get the idea from this that he is either viewing himself as a puppet, or he is viewing himself as a mouthpiece for something greater, which would go back to the Amelie imagery we've been seeing in the effigies. But I also want to put on here, I just love the idea that it would go back to the Crow. A lot of people have said, like, he's got a guitar, it's the Crow. So if we have to go for someone with face makeup, I would rather it be the Crow than the Joker, because I would rather keep DC out of my Deathstranding. So I do like the idea of the whole Crow, and we do know that Kojima likes older movies, but I really think this is all about the whole puppeteering and him making a joke about knowing that he is just a puppet rather than being in control this time around. Without further ado, we're going to start getting into the actual trailer that I created that you've already seen previously. I'm not sure the best way to break it down, but I think what I'll do is just kind of pause every frame that I think is interesting, talk about it a little bit. So if that is gonna be too jarring, I'm really sorry. I'm not really sure how else to really break it down. That's why I kind of put together that complete one at the first of the video, because there are so many things that I want to talk about and theorize about, and anything that you would like to confirm, deny, appreciate, extrapolate on in the comments, please do, because I think it would just be fun. So here we go. Chose this image originally because I think this is actually how it all starts. I think he is either going to kill someone or kill Amelie on the beach, and that will actually set off this, or possibly this is something that happened between him and Fragile on the beach, but I do think that that is not a part of what we've seen in the future. I think that is probably going to be at the end of the last game. I think that is also probably what's going on here. This is probably the end of the last game, beginning of this one. I think it's him trying to find a bunker, or it's the first time they've been able to be in snow because of the timefall, and he's just got the baby out enjoying it. I also noticed a few things about the baby's outfit that felt like clickbait. I noticed one thing. It says timefall resistant on the hat that Lou is wearing, and I'm kind of like, where did they get that? Has someone visited? Did they steal it from a bunker? How many babies are actually being born? So that was interesting, and I just thought, where does that come from? Because it had a little baby on the actual hat, like a baby icon. This is made for babies. So I feel weird about that. Who's supplying the baby stuff in this? Is this, a company he's randomly found? I mean, we did have a whole, mission where we helped deliver a baby, but I'm just curious, like, who is making that outfit and how did Sam get it? Because he doesn't speak to anyone. So I'm really curious if you have any ideas about that. So here we have what appears to be a height chart and a stuffed cryptobite to the right. I think this is just to show us the amount of time. I've seen some people think it is a year. I think that's probably about accurate. I also think the dolphins that we see are maybe Lou trying to walk, like one of those things where you can push it, kind of like an old school popping lawnmower looking thing. We also want to talk about the stickers. I see an I Love Baby sticker that's been ripped somewhat in half. I feel like that is a metaphor that they want us to be aware of, and I think that there's something to it. I'm thinking, okay, obviously BB is half here, half there, so maybe that's why it's ripped in half. Could also be that something is going to happen that causes us maybe not to love BB as much, but I think it's more of just an ode to the fact that something has happened and BB is not quite in our world. There's also a sticker on the front, which I can't make out. At first I thought maybe it was like a Magellan sticker, but that just wouldn't make sense. If it was, that would really screw up the timeline that I think is occurring, but I couldn't get a good look at it. I also noticed that we have the dolphins. Obviously, I think all of this is going back towards the water theme. One of them you can't really see, but it's the very back image. That's like a chair, just to show, like, I think we are still in that bunker. I think that's pretty evident. But that's the sticker on the right side that I just couldn't figure it out. At first, I thought maybe it was the Luden's mask or helmet, but I don't think it is. So if you know, let me know. I'm really curious about that sticker. We have another sticker that was on the actual pushing part of it, but I don't know. I couldn't tell that one either. Interestingly enough, I noticed that the ceiling is the same here, and it's making me think a piece of footage I have at the end of the video that I wasn't sure where it would go might actually be the bed area for this space, but there's nothing special about Sam right now other than the fact that he's young. I wanted to include this snap right here because this not only looks like chiral matter, it's golden color, obviously it's wood, but it's giving like three-headed Hydra, cut my head off, I'll come back again stronger. And I think that's really interesting because this is obviously, like, I feel like either Lou or at least Lou's toy, and I'm just getting the idea of something. It feels like it's very sharp. And so I think that imagery is supposed to mean something, and obviously it's coming straight towards Sam. Now, an Easter egg apparently is that these are Metal Gear Solid shoes. I don't know, I never played it. Stars on Lou's bib. I didn't see any other imagery other than the wing. I do want to break down this pod scene. So the pod has numbers on the glass. This is not seen anywhere else when we see the pod, so I do think this is the one that is in the future of the video. I think this is a one and done pod just for the dramatics. I do think this leads credence to the theory that maybe BB just inhabits the next closest pod, or maybe that's how she's been resurrecting. If you follow that theory, it basically just says that every time that Lou dies, they repatriate into a new BB, which I don't know. I don't know the logistics of that, but I do know that this is not the pod that Lou's using for the rest of the game. We have the Luden duck. I don't know if there's any importance to that or symbolism in the actual game. I've not got that duck. We have the thumbs up back there. And then we also have the pizza magazine, which I just think is really, really intriguing. Obviously, if you played the first game, you know that there's a whole order around Higgs and pizza, and it's basically how you get into his bunker. I've not actually done that in game, but I've seen some videos on it. A couple things I noticed is there's some font I really can't read that I wish I could, but it says we all love pizza. And then it has like a number 1 over on the side. I don't know if that's going to mean anything, but it just makes me think, okay, is this just an Easter egg back to Stranding 1 in the pizza? Or does this mean that Higgs is the first in some way? Because I really think he hit a lot of things in this, but that's really all I see so far, other than the fact that we have a lot of plants here, and that helped me kind of piece together which bunker is which as we go through the actual trailer. This is a good time to talk about Fragile. Why is Fragile here? What's going on with the timeline? Issue with Magellan yet? I think that this is prior to Magellan. I think that this is probably a year after Sam has basically given everyone the finger and moved out. I'm assuming that Fragile has left her business because we know that everyone went their separate ways when Bridges disbanded, basically. So I think this is pretty close to when Bridges disbanded. I think she went to Sam. I think she's helping co-parent Lou. I don't think there's an actual relationship, although I would be all for it. But I do think they're just like cohabitating. I don't think there's anything more to it. I don't think they had some like crazy relationship develop over this 1 year. But I do think that basically Fragile is without a job right now. I think she has abandoned Bridges. I think she's kind of probably still doing Fragile, the handle with care business, but I would assume this is her completely breaking contracts with other porters, which of course leads to the question, where is Sam right now? Because I don't think these are happening together, because I think we would have seen Sam somewhere in the picture. So I definitely think Sam cooking is at a different point than what we're seeing right now. But I do think that they're cohabitating, and I think that this is right after Bridges breaks up and they all go their separate ways, as Fragile says, and I think this is pre-Magellan. And I absolutely forgot to even talk about the fact that we have youthful looking Fragile, which I think is completely because of the Amelie, ending their connection to the seam, and therefore maybe ending Timefall, because I'm assuming that has, that's above my pay grade. But I do think that's basically what it is. She got her skin bag because of whatever happened. I just want to fangirl for a second. She looks so absolutely beautiful in this shot. Now, this bunker is obviously different than the others. It's overgrown, so I'm really curious where this is. I'm also curious if there's any actual language that we could break down from that hand code, because we see a lot of squares and circles. We also see this moth company in the background, which I'm curious about. They're obviously not Bridges, so I'm wondering, is moth the Mexico Bridges? Are we in Mexico right now? I don't know. This part shows us an area that I have not seen before. But obviously Sam is not around for this, and she is being chased. So for whatever reason, BB doesn't open their eyes. They don't do a thumbs up. They are bleeding tar from their eyes. And for all intents and purposes, it's really confusing, because every time that we have repatriated, we've seen the BB give us a thumbs up. But we see little hands on the inside of this throat or whatever it is. And a lot of people have brought up this is similar to Cliff. This is similar to whenever people are like on that other side. I don't really understand what this has to do with BB. My first guess is that BB can no longer cross over, or there is like a break in the connection, like the drawbridge is up, they can't cross over. But I also have a feeling that whoever BB is connected to can repatriate. So even though Sam was already a repatriate, I think that we're going to find out basically that anyone in close contact with Lou can come back to life when they die. I do think, however, that we're going to have an issue with her actually being dead, like her body being gone, but her soul being connected to either Fragile or Sam. Surely Sam. But I think this is interesting, because we don't have her eyes open or anything, but we obviously see Fragile come back to life. So I find that strange and interesting. Wearing my tinfoil hat again, I think that something happens with either Fragile's back, Fragile's body, something. Because I think the hands that she's wearing later on in the trailer, I'm kind of hoping that they're like a disability rep almost. I talked about that when we were looking at her poster, just slightly, but I am very curious about if something happens here that causes her to need the extra set of hands, because they do react as though she is controlling them with her mind, but then again, it could just be a puppet, as we seem to be really circling around in this whole thing. That is just the symbolism that we keep getting.
Decided to do a little digging. Now, according to them, BB-28 was flagged for disposal and subsequently incinerated 4 years ago, long before you and Lou first met.
So this was such a shocking clip whenever we first saw it, but I want to break down a few things. So the first thing I noticed is that we have like Sam's tattoo over there, so that matches with the fact that he didn't seem to be wearing sleeves in most of his like non-outside places. This also tells me that this is prior to a conversation that he seems to be having later about the blonde girl in the trailer, because he has sleeves on in that. The other thing that is interesting is the fact, obviously, there's an octopus arm. It makes me really curious about where we're going with this. I'm super excited to hear Deadman talk. But the big thing that I noticed here is there is no writing on this pod. So this is not the original pod that we see broken on the floor just a few moments earlier. And it's also a different color, obviously. It's not as red as the last one. I don't know if that really matters. It's probably just something they did for dramatics. But I am going to zoom in just on a couple things. The tentacles obviously have the same imprint that the blonde lady from later in the trailer has, so I think this is going to be an important character. I'm wondering, is this something trapped? Did they trap it? Is this a portal to the other side and they can't control what comes and what goes? Is this Lou? I don't know. So, very curious what comes of this. Also, I checked as well as I could the hand tattoo. Pretty sure that's Norman Reedus. It matches his other tattoos, so I assume this is his hands unless there's some other person with tattoos later in the game. If you look, there is no text on this pod, so this is a different pod than the one that was broken in the previous clip. So I just don't understand if this is a whole new BB, a whole new pod for some reason, and why there's an octopus in it.
Sam the man in the dark about everything.
So we saw a little flash of rainbow there. We're obviously seeing that he still has some of the handprints. It looks like he's got a little bit still, but it doesn't look as bad as it normally does. He's obviously old, which is very strange. But I do think this is post-Fragile being there with Lou and the accident happening. There's no plants down the hallway like there was previously, but I don't know that that matters. I do think that this is either the correct sequence or they're doing some time weirdness and somehow this is the front and what we've previously watched is the end. But I think this is accurate because this is how he gets on the Magellan, it feels like.
Welcome to Drawbridge, Sam, and to the GHV Magellan, our mobile base of operations. Come on, I'll help you get your bearings.
I definitely think they're in the same because of the blue color. A lot of people have agreed on that, and I agree with that as well. I think this is his first time on the Magellan. I think this is like the tutorial almost.
They're pretty much the same as yours.
I'm really excited. I think this is going to be a co-op area.
This is one hell of a ship you got here. Courtesy of the UCA, I'm guessing.
I don't remember if you can see your breath in the same. I find that interesting.
But we do have a generous patron with access to plenty of capital and tech.
Also, why is he naked? I don't get it.
UCA big shot.
Don't ask me. we've never met face to face.
Okay, lots to talk about here. I think the big shot is going to be Higgs somehow. We know from the previous, I don't want to call it orders, but like secret stories, that basically her mother, Coffin, took on Higgs kind of as a protege, and her dying request was that Higgs take care of Fragile. Obviously, he did a crappy job at that because Fragile, he basically turned her into an old lady and was a jerk, to say the least. However, some things that I notice here is she has the hands, which I still think are some sort of device. I find it weird that she is wearing her ring on that hand, which I am so curious about. Why would you not wear it on your actual body? It must not be reading your vital signs, or she doesn't want them to know her vital signs. So, I don't know. Feels like espionage. The other thing is she's not wearing her fragile suit with the little pokey things, unless it is underneath the jacket that she's wearing, which is also a possibility. The hands could be a part of the jacket, and it looks like I've actually lost a part of the trailer where she is saying, like, this is my ship, Sam, meet my crew. And that's fine. I'm not going to go stick it in. It's too much work. But in that she had her fragile shoulder things, and so that was another reason I feel like that is very much at the beginning, and possibly when she has old skin, but that wouldn't make any sense. So I think I'm gonna just ignore that. But I am very interested in the fact that she doesn't appear to have her fragile suit on.
They value their privacy.
Seriously? No better than to believe that bullshit.
Absolutely, we stand a man who supports women's rights. However, I will say that I think that people are right when they say he is referring to Higgs in the last one where she trusted kind of blindly. And I think that that is true here as well. I think that she is trusting a little too much, but at the same time, she smiles like maybe she knows something we don't. So I'm not really sure what to think there. But I am concerned that she is being tricked or working for someone that she doesn't realize she's working for. I think they are utilizing BB's seam somehow. I think it's interesting that their eyes are open here, but they weren't previously.
If you want answers, you're gonna have to.
Okay, so we have his stats thing, which I think is neat that it's a ring now. It's a lot smaller and out of our way. I also think it means it's not going to be of use to us, really. Like, the cuffs were pretty useful in the last game. We have Moby Dick. We also have voyages of something. I cannot even remember. Beauty, maybe? Beagle? No, Voyage of the Beagle, I think. And so one is, I think, Charles Darwin, and then the other is obviously a guy fighting a giant whale. So I thought that was kind of interesting. We're going to get into some book spoilers because I think we need to. Moby Dick is about a guy, a captain, who harpoons this giant white whale that he's obsessed with and ends up getting pulled overboard, and the whale survives. I don't know if that could be referencing Higgs and his beef with the BB, or if that is because, you know, it says that pain you nerves. I don't know if that means that Sam is the captain or if that means that Sam is the whale. I really don't know. But I do think that is some metaphor that we should really be aware of. The Voyage of the Beagle is actually what that book is. And it's Charles Darwin talking about evolution. Funny enough, the game seems to be set in Mexico, and it was set, it was a voyage to Chile, Argentina, and the Galapagos Islands, and there he discovered a lot of flora and fauna that he had never seen before and talked about it in the book. So that makes me think, not only are we going to be fighting this big bad and maybe, you know, dying in the process, but that we're also going to be discovering new evolution, new ecosystems. So that's, I think, a pretty clear indicator. I really do think that that's pretty spot on. I think we are going to see more flora, fauna, and if the octopus is any, you know, I don't know, indicator, I really think we're going to see a new ecosystem.
Find them yourself. But
I also zoomed in on this pod, and there is no writing on it, so this is definitely not the pod that was broken back in Sam's first place.
Sam the man in the dark.
Same deal as America. The people here are all spread out, cut off from one another. We want you to help us bring the world together.
I think they somehow traveled through the seam, and now he is younger again, because I just don't understand how the old person and the new person, like, I don't understand that timeline, how it mingles, but I do think this is basically the baby gets hurt, Fragile leaves, they get back together, and this is kind of like the beginning of the game tutorial, because she mentions you've got to connect this before we can actually use the Magellan. So he is going to have to go out in Mexico first before they can go to the other place. I noticed that there's floating rocks, so I don't think this is in the seam or anything, but there must have been a void out close by.
Just like with Mexico, they want to bring new regions into the network.
We can see loose strands, and we can see like the blue lights that are reminiscent of the bridges.
As always, you'll be the one leading the way to expand the network.
What's your role in all this? You're the commander, huh?
That's right. These days I'm fragile in name only.
Really excited for the landscape. So super interested in this photo where I'm seeing obviously the Cairo kitty, which I'm so here for. Hope I can get one of my own. Has the Cairo eyes that look really reminiscent of the Dreamcatcher in the start of the trailer, way back when. We also have obviously the Magellan icon or badge, whatever you want to call it, insignia on the left. And then we have 3 other buttons, which I thought were kind of interesting. One of them, the gold one, appears to be a crab of some sort. Then we have what looks to be like a shrimp squid looking hybrid. I don't know. I'm not really sure what it is. I'm thinking like maybe giant squid. And then we have this like dolphin reminiscent on the bottom. We can only see part of it. And it has words on it that I just can't quite make out. I feel like I see I don't know. It looks like there's something there. I feel like I could make it say anything if I stared at it long enough. But I'd be curious to know if you guys recognize those from the past game at all. Or if these have been released and I just didn't realize they've been released. So here Fragile says like a lot of things has changed since you went off on your own. So I'm thinking he went somewhere after they lost Lou. And then Lou has come back because I think Higgs has reopened.
Don't act like you don't see it.
The border somehow.
A lot of things changed after you went off on your own, especially within the UCA. Bridges no longer oversees the distribution network. They withdrew once things were up and running.
Okay, so we've got to talk about this. We've obviously got Bridges logos. We have what might be the drawbridge logo, but I'm thinking this is like the UCA Bridges logo. We also have a square logo that is below that I really don't know what that's supposed to represent. And then the next frame we get the new effigy, and I am so interested in this because around Amelie's neck appears to be a baby, and so we kind of have the Kipu behind her. We have the rays of sunlight. I am so curious if Higgs or whoever this cult is knows that there's an importance between BBs and Amelie, or if we're going to find out that Amelie has somehow created all the bridge babies, which, I mean, we know that technically she did because they had the company or whatever, but I'm wondering if all bridge babies have a connection to Amelie and therefore they are powerful in some way. I just feel like they're trying to show us a connection.
So your friends and co-workers all went their separate ways.
I think that those arm things look like the Bridges logo. I noticed that's on a lot of the capes in this sequence, on the guys in the back, but I also find it weird that there are actual humans in this, and not in the next time that we see Higgs. They're just robots, or rather, they have no heads, they just have robot heads. And here we have people.
Within network coverage, there's no need to rely on human quarters anymore. So after I closed up shop, I went and started a new group. One that handles work in regions outside the UCA.
This is curious because she can actually touch the tar like we could in the other game, but then she is terrified at what comes out of this lady because it obviously makes her old. We see this again. This makes me think that something is injecting life or creating an ecosystem or feeding off of people in this other realm. At first I thought, oh, is this like they are dying and that's how many times they've died? But I don't think so. I think they're just getting fed upon. It could also be a resurrection thing, because we see like an octopus type thing in Lou's pod. Then we see it on this girl, and so far we don't see it anywhere else. So it makes me think, did Lou take the form of like a chiral animal and then inject herself into this body? Is that how Ha and Ka works? I don't know. We also have the white lines. You can see the puppet kind of touching her hand, which I think is interesting because I think the puppet actually speaks to her whenever they say, I understand your pain.
One's identical in structure to the kind found in tar.
I'm pretty confident that this is Sam. I've looked at the ears a ton of times, but I think this is just a new outfit that he gets. Also, I believe the people we can hear speaking here are George Miller with kind of like the Australian accent, and then I think this is the puppet speaking, but there's also someone in the room with weird looking boots, and I can't see George Miller's character who seems to be talking, but I don't think that he's wearing pink or whatever yellow boots. Like, so I've zoomed in on the photo and you can actually see the captain's boots kind of in front of Sam. So he must be sitting just directly in front of Sam. Sam's sitting across from him. Fragile is over to the right. And then there's someone with yellow boots that they obviously don't want us to see. That is separate from Ellie Fanning because she is in the clip. I've just zoomed it in. And then I think that's basically a map that they're looking at. Also, the puppet is definitely a person who can speak because they speak in just a minute and they ask about it, and then the captain's like, of course, what did you think? So I think that is a full-on person with memories and like a functioning brain somehow.
There are amino acids in tar, as in proteins?
Of course. How else did you think that chiral creatures could emerge from it? Some have even theorized that the tar is a sort of primordial soup.
I was there. I saw her home. And it was a hellhole.
So these robots actually are dangling and they are attached to strings. So I do think that there's something about souls being able to inhabit these APAC robot things, because as soon as he starts shooting, you can actually see the one on the right drops down and tries to shoot at him. So it's also looking abandoned. So I'm thinking this could be like a BT situation, taking over robot bodies.
With the support of the chiral network.
So I think this is great. You can see that these are full-on robots. There's no room for any bodies. So I do think they might be BT controlled. But that begs the question, is the dog also BT controlled? Because that's pretty interesting. Here again we see like a group of what appears to be BTs or just souls. It makes me wonder, has he gotten the homo demons back together and he is taking their souls? Or is he just somehow in control of them? Did he carry back souls with him and that's what's going on? Or did he just find some like-minded friends? In the next few scenes, it's actually really easy to tell that he is not a cyborg. He is definitely using this like armor, and I'm assuming that he's taken a beach thing and put inside of his armor so that he can access the beach at all times. Kind of like a BB.
Seeing as how I've been distributing the fruits of this fine factory all over the continent. Guns and violence, the whole damn world could be yours. Same as it ever was. Oh. Looks like you decided to trade in that rope for a stick this go-round. Well, I suppose even a porter has to pull the trigger from time to time. Oh, what about you? Hey, buddy. Are you just another Soulless little husk, huh?
Let go of me!
The fact that we have the puppet definitely tells me that in the timeline, this is after we get on the Magellan, after we've probably connected most of Mexico. I'm thinking this is probably mid-game, because I think this is going to be the point where we find out, oh, there's more to the story with Lou.
Pathetic guitarist, where's the rest of your band?
Well, ain't that something?
So if this is indeed the person that we saw rise up out of the coffin, the outfit is definitely changed. It's more of like a battle armor. It still has tar in it, which means maybe he's going back and forth. I think it's interesting that his guitar seems to be really ratchet. Like, it's got holes and stuff in the strap, but he has Amelé's quipu. He's got the long hair. And I'm just really curious how that's going to factor in. Also, the smile that he has. I mean, he's like excited, like, oh, the connection.
Was it you, Higgs? Huh? Was it you that killed Lou?
So I actually feel like Higgs is really like trying to put together the pieces here, and then realizes something, but Sam interrupts him. And when I'm looking at Sam's outfit, I'm actually kind of interested in what he's wearing. He's actually wearing like what looks like binoculars, maybe. And then he's also wearing like grenade pouches, his strand. So it looks like we're gonna have some really good tools. Upon closer inspection, Sam is actually wearing his BB right now, and then giant katana baby shows up. So I don't know how we went from him holding it to not holding it. So possibly there is some sort of trailer time skip. They've had a conversation. Not sure. And then we realize that katana thing can jump through space and time, I suppose, because it disappears, moves over there, and then moves back across. Now, because it's so big, I don't think it's a person. I think it is something else, something being controlled, obviously from the laugh. It almost looks like it has oxygen through the back. It has 2 venting ports, and then the red shoulders have bubbles that look like Fragile's suit from the first game. So there may actually be a body or a husk inside here. Super curious. Not sure where to put the next clip, because I'm really not sure if it's at the beginning after Lou dies and Fragile's in the wreck, or if it's after that fight, because the fire kind of looks similar. This has been heavily talked about, the figures that appear in the smoke. She's obviously smoking like a chiral cigarette or something, or Carillium cigarette. The other thing is we're on the drawbridge, but I'm not sure that this isn't in the very beginning of the timeline. And I'm also not sure that she isn't talking to someone else when she says that she's sorry she strung them along. And finally, I think that this may be whenever Sam grows old. I think this is the room in his normal place at the beginning, and I think maybe he goes to sleep and wakes up old, something like that. Like he crosses over, he has a connection with BB, something, because that area doesn't look like any other area that we've seen in the game. So unless it's one of those places that you can make and like put in the ground, random places, I think that is his original place that he was staying at, and I think something happens because he looks very sad. However, he is wearing the drawbridge logo and whatever that extra logo is, which really reminds me of the katana baby's face. I don't know. So if you have any theories that you'd like to share, please share them down below, and I hope you enjoyed this way too long theory video.